Nobody dared to step in, except the human Zara pressed her four-fingered hands against the cold metal walls of her prison cell. The Krillian slavers had captured her 3 rotations ago from her home planet of Velthara. Her blue-scaled skin had lost its natural shimmer, and her large violet eyes held nothing but despair. The slave ship Tormentor carried over 200 beings from dozens of different worlds. All were destined for the fighting pits of Nexus Prime, where they would battle until death for the entertainment of the galaxy's most ruthless criminals. Zara had heard whispers among the other prisoners about a species called humans. Some said they were weak and soft. Others claimed they were savage warriors who never surrendered, but most agreed on one thing: humans were unpredictable. Captain Vex, the Krillian commander, strutted through the prison bay, his reptilian features twisted in cruel amusement. He stopped at Zara's cell and hissed through razor-sharp teeth, "Your people will fetch a good price, little one." The crowd loves watching graceful fighters fall. Zara remained silent. She had learned that speaking only brought more pain. 3 days later, everything changed. The ship's alarms screamed through the corridors. Emergency. Lights bathed everything in red. The prisoners pressed against their cell bars, trying to see what was happening. A human vessel had appeared on the edge of their sensors. It was smaller than the Tormentor, but it moved with deadly purpose. The ship bore the markings of the Terran Defense Coalition. Captain Vex laughed when he saw it on his display. One pathetic human ship against his battle cruiser. It would be over in minutes. The human ship transmitted a message that echoed through the Tormentor. "This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the TDC Liberator. You are carrying stolen sentient beings. Release them immediately, or face the consequences." Vex's laughter grew louder. He had faced the fleets of a dozen star nations. None had dared challenge the Krillian Syndicate directly. "Your threats mean nothing human. We claim these beings by right of conquest. Stand down or be destroyed." The human captain's response was calm and cold negative. "We're coming aboard." What followed shocked every being on the slave ship. The small human vessel didn't retreat. Instead, it accelerated directly toward the Tormentor point defense turrets opened fire. But the human ship danced between the energy blasts with impossible grace. The Liberator latched onto the Tormentor's hull. Cutting beams sliced through the armored plating. Zara felt the vibrations as the humans burned their way inside. Captain Vex deployed his security forces. 200 Krillian warriors armed with plasma rifles and energy blades. They had never been defeated in close combat. Their natural armor and venomous claws made them feared throughout the galaxy. The humans came through the breach like a storm. There were only 12 of them. 12 humans against 200 Krillian elite guards. But Zara watched in amazement as these soft-looking bipeds moved with lethal efficiency. They wore powered armor that enhanced their already impressive strength. Their weapons fired projectiles that punched through Krillian scales like paper. But it was their tactics that truly set them apart. The humans fought as one mind. Each warrior knew exactly where their teammates were at all times. They covered each other's flanks, shared ammunition, and never left anyone behind. When one human was wounded, 2 others immediately moved to protect them. Sergeant Amy Collins led the assault team. Her voice carried over the battle communications as she coordinated the attack Delta team. "Take the upper corridor. Bravo, secure the engine room. Charlie with me. We're heading for the prison bay." The Krillians had superior numbers and home field advantage, but the humans had something else. They had Fury. Zara learned later that the humans had been tracking the Tormentor for weeks. They had studied Krillian tactics, learned their weaknesses, and planned this rescue mission down to the smallest detail. The battle raged for 2 hours. The Krillians threw everything they had at the human boarding party: automated defenses, energy barriers, even combat drones. But the humans adapted to every challenge. Lieutenant Kate Brown found herself surrounded by 5 Krillian warriors. Her rifle was empty, and her armor was damaged. Instead of surrendering, she drew a simple metal blade and charged. The Krillians expected her to fall. Quickly, human reflexes were supposedly slower than theirs, their bones supposedly more fragile. They were wrong. Kate moved like flowing water around their attacks. Her blade found the gaps in their natural armor again and again. When the last Krillian fell, she was still standing. The prison bay doors exploded inward. Sergeant Collins and her team poured through the breach. Captain Vex was waiting for them with his personal guard. He stood over 2 meters tall, his natural armor gleaming with embedded metal plates. "You cannot defeat us, all human. Your species is weak. You lack the killer instinct." Collins removed her helmet, revealing a face marked by countless battles. Her eyes held a fire that made even the Krillian captain step back. "You want to see our killer instinct? Then you should have left these people alone." The final battle was brutal. Vex was everything the Krillians claimed to be, strong, fast, and utterly without mercy. But Collins was something else entirely. She was human. She took wounds that would have crippled other species and kept fighting. She used every trick, every advantage her people had learned in centuries of warfare. When Vex's claws raked across her armor, she grabbed his arm and used his own momentum against him. The Krillian captain found himself on his back with a human boot on his throat. Collins looked down at him without emotion. "Release the prisoners." Now the prison cells opened with a hiss. Zara stumbled out along with dozens of other captives. She stared at the humans in wonder. These beings had risked everything for strangers. They had fought impossible odds and won, but the humans weren't finished yet. While Collins secured the prison bay, Lieutenant Brown was in the ship's computer core. She worked with impossible speed downloading data on other slave ships, Krillian bases, and trafficking routes. "We're not just here for one rescue," Collins explained to the freed prisoners. "We're here to end this." Captain Morgan's voice crackled over the communications. "Sergeant, the Krillian fleet is responding. We have 12 heavy cruisers closing on our position." Collins nodded grimly. They had known this was likely a one-way mission. The Liberator was fast, but it couldn't outrun an entire fleet. "Get everyone to the escape pod," she ordered her team. But Lieutenant Sam Foster shook her head. "Captain, that won't work. There aren't enough pods for everyone, and the Krillians will just hunt us down." Zara watched as the humans faced their impossible situation. They could save themselves or they could save the prisoners, but probably not both. Without hesitation, Collins made the choice. All freed prisoners to the escape pods immediately. Human team secure their launch. Zara grabbed the sergeant's arm with her scaled hand. "You cannot stay. You will die." Collins smiled. It was the first time Zara had seen a human smile. It was both gentle and fierce. "That's what we do. We step in when nobody else dares." The escape pods launched just as the Krillian fleet arrived. Zara's pod was the last to leave. She watched through the small porthole as 12 humans stood against impossible odds. The Liberator detached from the Tormentor and began evasive maneuvers. Captain Morgan pushed her ship to its limits, dancing between the massive Krillian vessels. Her crew worked miracles, keeping the engines running and the shields operational. But there were simply too many enemies. The small human ship took hit after hit. Its armor peeled away under the concentrated fire. But still, it fought. Still, it protected the escape pod. Zara's pod reached minimum safe distance just as the Liberator's reactor went critical. The explosion lit up the void like a newborn star. But the sacrifice wasn't in vain. The data Lieutenant Brown had stolen revealed the locations of 17 other slave ships and the central processing station at Nexus Prime. Within days, human fleets struck at every target simultaneously. The Krillian slave trade collapsed overnight. Zara eventually made it home, to Velthara. But she never forgot what she had witnessed. 12 humans had faced impossible odds, not for glory or profit, but because it was right. She established a memorial in her world's capital. A simple stone monument with words in both Velthari and Terran script. When others would not act, when others dared not step forward, the humans came. Years later, when the Galactic Council debated whether to intervene in various conflicts, Zara would stand and remind them of that day. She would tell them about a species that didn't calculate odds or weigh political consequences. She would tell them about humans who simply did what needed to be done. The galaxy learned a valuable lesson that day. Nobody should underestimate a species willing to die. For strangers, a species that steps forward when all others step back. The humans had shown them what true courage looked like.